Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome if you're new. I'm Stacy, and today we are going to be using my brand new Caran Neocolor II water-soluble crayons to paint this beautiful, cute little cow. I decided to go in with a pink base. I needed a base of color to like peek through and not for her not to be completely white to start. So I decided to scribble in pink everywhere except for where the white is going to be. And then I went ahead after that and kind of made it look like a little wash. You'll see that come up in just a minute. I am using my new mic. So exciting. I bought a new mic for just expressly for recording voiceovers. So I'm hoping it works out really well. This is the paper I'm using is Fabio. Is it? Hold on. No, it's not. It's Fluid 100. 140 pound cold press 8x10 sheet that I got in one of my art boxes. I don't I'm sorry. It is not cold press. It's hot press. I don't normally use the hot press paper, but I have a pack of 12 sheets with like 6 left over. So I grabbed one of those to go ahead and sketch her on some time ago. I sketched her out quite a while ago thinking I would watercolor her in, and then I set her aside because I wasn't thrilled with the sketch. And I thought, well, she could be a great practice piece for my new Neocolors. So that's what we're doing. We're using her for my very first full painting. Now we did the lemons. If you're new to the channel, I just got these Neocolors last week before, and I had time to swatch them, and then I had time to paint lemons and this cow. So here I go, getting my Princeton Neptune round number 8, I think she is. Yes. And just plain clean water and loosening up that pigment on the paper and swooshing it around to give kind of a locked in base color for her. I don't want it to blend in with the top layers, and I don't really want it to go away. Like, I don't want it to fade out as I put more color on. So I decided to wet it down and try to lock it into that paper. The lemons were fun to paint. I had a blast, but I wanted to do a bigger piece next, so I decided to go ahead and paint my little cow drawing in with these crayons as well, and I love them. I am super addicted to these crayons. I highly recommend them. Super fun to use. Very relaxing to use. There's so many colors to choose from, and you do not need the whole set. Let's see. I actually did color code the swatch set, so I would know the swatch sheet that comes with the crayons, so that I would know how many were the excellent status, which is 3 stars. 1, 2, and 3 stars. Excellent, very good, and good. I'm using one of the more sienna kind of browns. It looks like a sienna. It could be the saffron. I was super excited about the saffron. Most likely it's a russet or the English red, because those are really beautiful colors. I did not pay attention to what colors I was grabbing at all, you guys. But in the set, of the 84 colors, 47 of them are excellent light fastness. 24 are very good, and 13 are good. And I think that gives an amazing selection of, that's the saffron. I can tell by what it looks like when it's wet. I was super excited to see that color in here because it's very cinnamon looking. But there's more than enough colors in here for you to do a fully light fast piece without any kind of problems at all. The silver and the gold and the bronze are all, well, the silver is a 3 and the gold and bronze are 2s. They aren't highly metallic when you water them down, though. They are shiny when in just their natural state, but when you water them down, I found them to be less shiny. Yeah, I'm just going in with the same color and I'm blocking in. I want to let that pink peek through because I think it'll make really pretty highlights. But I'm going in and blocking in all of the areas where I think sorry, this color is needed. A little bit on the eyes, because if you've ever been around cows, their eyes are not black. Most animals' eyes are not black. They are some sort of deep brown with flecks of other color in them. And I found cow eyes to be particularly brown. So I wanted to get some of that same color in there. Unity. And yeah, I found this saffron to be a little too bright for my liking at first. And I was thinking, I don't know if I like this color on her. Should have gone a little more brown, a little more like natural brown. But there are cows out there that have reddish hair, you guys. Just saying. Any cow lovers out there, you can drop a comment in the comment section and let me know what color, what kind of cows are that russet color. I left her a little bit, the color a little heavy, close to that white right there, and under her eye, kind of around that eye area, and up tucked in that ear area. Trying not to get too heavy where there's supposed to be like lighter colors, light fur highlights on that particularly shiny fur. And then I'm taking the brush with clean water and just, the brush isn't terribly wet, you guys. It is, as you can see, I'm holding it in the left hand, coloring with the right, and then switching out. It's very damp, but not wet. It's not drippy or like, basically I dipped it in the cup and dabbed it on a paper towel really well, and then use it to smudge the paint. The pigment moves really nicely. You don't need a lot either. You really don't need a lot of pigment down to spread out into a beautiful color. I'm trying to get that mop of hair up there to look like a mop of hair. It looks like I don't know, curly hair on that you'd see on a little boy or a little girl. That poofy, just got out of bed look. But overall, I'm really liking how she's coming out so far. Just pulling that color around, and then there'll be more swooshing with the paintbrush here in a minute. Yeah, see, that looks so nice. I love it. And a little bit darker next to that hairline right there, where the fur is really dense and overlapping right there, and that on that brow bone. Man, that next to the part that I wet down, next to the part that is not yet spread out with the water, is so vibrant. The difference in color between the watered down version and the dense version is pretty intense. Get that lower lip in there. I almost forgot about it. Her jaw is kind of jutted to the side a skosh, and wanted to make sure I didn't forget to get that lower lip in. And then here we go with the brush again, and just really just touching that pigment and moving it very gently and slowly, just to see, because it is intense for me. And I was thinking in my head, ooh, that's so intense. I don't know if I like it. But I went with it, go with the flow, see what happens. If I don't practice, I don't know. I went ahead and spread it all around, and as she came together, I was liking it more and more, that saffron color. So nice. And it is a really good base color to put more muted and darker colors on top of as well. And I have this sped up 2.5 times. It did take 2 hours and 38 minutes to paint this piece. I was listening to True Blood and which is a show on HBO. If you don't know what that is, it's a vampire show on HBO from several years ago. I'm rewatching it. I'm air quoting, you can't see me. I'm rewatching it to just because I want to. It's been a while since I've watched it. I wanted to get around that that muzzle there. I didn't want to fudge that up. And then blocking in that ear. Yeah, I really like the show. For a lot of people, it might be a bit graphic. It is not kid-friendly at all, just so you know. But it is an entertaining vampire show. I have also still been trying to shake this cough, so I apologize for any coughing that gets recorded. Still lingering COVID cough. It's been almost a month now. Still a little, little phlegmy. Because you guys really wanted to know that. I get her ear up, but this actually went pretty quickly. I just took my time because I was listening to a show. You don't have to go as slow as I did. I'm using leftover paint from her ear right here to picking up from the ear and picking up from that ear because there's heavy pigment right there, and then smudging it onto the body to get a little light layer going on. Then I decided to fill in some of that ear on the right because I have the left ear is very filled in and the right ear is not. But then I got thinking, well, that right ear is more in light, so it's okay. It's all right. Kind of blocking in a light layer of pigment on her body, just swooshing it down. And trying to remember to go in the direction that her folds are, because she's tilted, her head's tilted pretty sharply. And now I am trying to pick a shadow color, and I went ahead and picked indigo. The indigo blue is very pretty. Close enough to black that it reads as black, I think. I went over the browns, because I want them to kind of blend in and bleed and look shimmery. I want the eye to look a little wet. Was the goal. But I went ahead and blocked in both eyes with the indigo for that, and then the nostrils. I figured I should carry this indigo shadow color through the piece. So I got it in the nostrils and on that lower lip to give that bit of shadow right there. And then same actions on the eye. Went over the saffron with the indigo blue and just basically outlined that eye and got in some heavy pigment on the outside of the eyeball. And then more saffron on top because it kind of obliterated a bit. And then I tried to gently smudge it around without obliterating the little shine spot on the eye, and not completely blend the two colors together, but kind of merge them next to each other. And I think it turned out really good. She definitely looks like a pretty little cow. The eyes make all the difference, right? She looks less creepy now. I decided to go in with that pink again and kind of re-establish the softer pink around the eyes. As if most animals around their eyes, there's a little bit of pink on the underlids and in that tear duct area. And now I have, what color do I have? Golden ochre. It's either the ochre or the golden ochre. I'm pretty sure it's the golden ochre. And just going over the top to kind of tone down that saffron color and give her a little more brown tones. But I didn't want to go too dark brown. And then seeing what happens when I use the brush on top, because I did want this to be a more watercolor effect piece than a pastels piece. And I do oil pastels. I really enjoy oil pastels a lot. The intensity of color and the richness and how you can layer them and blend them right on the paper. And you can do the same thing with these. They are amazing, so versatile. And you don't have to blend them all together. You can leave color on top of color, and you can work light to dark or dark to light. If you lost a light, you can always pull it back with by layering on another lighter color or shade. Yeah, it's a really very versatile tool to have in your belt. And you don't need the big set. Like I said, the 30 or 40 something set is more than enough colors to choose from. Even the 10 set was really nice. It's a lot of colors. It's a versatile set, and you can mix them right on the palette. You can scribble them on a palette and wet them directly, and they turn into a wash. Really versatile tool. I'm going in and just throwing in this layer. Really not thinking over much about it. Trying to get the directions of the hair and those ears to feel like they're flowing, out and down, soft and feathery. And overall, I'm really enjoying the process. As I'm painting, I'm thinking, I don't know if I like this. I really don't know if I like this. But I've never painted a cow before either. So, my very first cow, you guys. I'm back and forth with the light ochre and the pink and that saffron color in the ear. Layering and layering and layering. In here, I don't think I wet this again because I wanted it to look like hair, and that texture on top really helps with that. Now, when you're done with a painting like this, you can spray it with UV fixative if you want to. Just be mindful that the color may shift. I haven't tested that with these yet to see if the colors will shift. I will probably do a couple of small practice pieces, like just throwing color down on a page and then take it outside and spray it real good with some fixative and see if it shifts a lot. I'll color down and then cover half of it with tape and then spray it and then peel the tape off just to mask it. Peel the tape off and see what kind of color variation I have. It's a good way to test how your fixatives will affect the medium you're using. And I have found that with pastels, the chalk ones especially, it really does deepen the color on your pastels. Because you got to figure you're spraying basically a mist of liquid on top of your chalk. It's gonna water it down a bit. And I grabbed a dark, I don't think this is the, see, and this is how I normally work. My left hand is full of, especially with pastels, my left hand is holding the colors I'm using. I'll have colors sprinkled all around the piece because I don't want to put the ones that I'm using back in the tray because I'll forget what color I chose. I'm fairly certain this is just a dark brown. Any one of the dark browns will work, or even the indigo too would work for shadowing in over the top. I'm just getting those shadow colors in. No, I can't do that while I'm recording. I was gonna zoom in, but I can't do that while I'm recording. Decisions. Yeah, just trying to get that hair effect in. Once again, that mop of hair on top. Overall, I think she's turning out super fabulous. I'm liking her now that I'm not in it. But as I was painting, I was thinking, oh man, I don't know. Okay, we'll put a little dark here because it is a little shadowed where the white hair is blending into that brownish red hair. And the brown hairs are layering on top of themselves. So it's going to create a bunch of different, like hair does, different shades of browns. I believe that might be the indigo. I can't tell. My playback screen is too tiny. And I wanted to soften that around the face right there. So just grab the brush, dab it, and then spread it around. And now that I have the darker color on there, I can see where I want to move that saffron color in and glaze over the pink that I have down. See? And her whole little face just came together just like that. It's crazy amazing. And go back over with that golden ochre color and get those corners of those eyes lightened up a bit. Yeah, so effective. Just a little touch of it goes a long way. I just made that eye look more realistic. And then apparently I decided to just get crazy with it and put it everywhere. And then more saffron on top. Once again, that hair feeling, all the different shades that hair can be when the light hits it, lights and darks. That was my thought pattern there. A little more dark over here on that cheek, because it's sunk in. The structure of the face is such that's the brown you see on the sides of her nose. There's a little arch in there. And that brow bone is going to be lighter because it's closer to the sun. And going in with that dark again and trying to get some shadows in the ear area where the ear would be overlapped by that blob of hair on the forehead, creating a shadow over the top of it. And gently shading some of the color in and going back in with the dark because I lost some of my shadow right there. I got a little too blendy. Just pop it back in. Super easy. Oh. And just redefining some of the eye area. It's a lot of back and forth, like with any piece that you're doing, if you're going to take your time and try to do a quality piece of work, and not feel rushed. Just enjoy the process. I found that I enjoy the process more than I enjoy the actual finished piece of art. Usually when I get done and I like a piece of art, I'm stunned. Anybody else? I'm like, wow, I like this one. Interesting. I usually have to live with it for a couple of days. I had to live with her for a couple of days to see if once she was finished, how I felt about the feeling that I created in the piece, how she was coming across to me. And now I think she's adorable. I feel like I need to give her a name, but not a typical cow name. I don't want to name her like Daisy. Not that Daisy's a bad name. It's very adorable, but maybe she's I don't know. You guys think up a name for our cow. Drop it in the comments below. And that's what we'll name her. Got those big eyes, though. I'm going in and putting in some shadow in the hair to make it look more realistic once again. And then those ears. I think I'm using that indigo. And then I'm going back in with that light ochre color to lighten up some of that inner ear area that I got too dark. Like I said, you can go dark to light and back again. So I put a little shine on that eye apparently with that light color. And blocking in more of that saffron, trying to get that roughly hair texture feeling around her ears, because her ears are, in the reference photo, are very fluffy, and the hair is very long and sweeping, even over from the top upside, the very top of the ear where I'm coloring in right now. The hair that overlaps the inner ear is very long. Like on a long-haired cat, sometimes their hair can overlap that ear a little bit. Yeah, I'm not digging how the edge of that ear feels, and I do a little bit too much on it. But that's okay. That's all right. We'll just push through. And now I'm gonna try to define the folds in the body where she's bending. There's a bunch of you see the lines going across her body, that's where all the shadows need to be. So I decided to go in with the saffron first and really block in those shadows and get a light layer going in the direction that her fur is going. I'm putting in all those lines because direction matters. Sorry, my phone just blooped at me. Direction matters. You need to really be mindful of, especially when you're doing fur or any kind of texturing, you need to be mindful of where the direction is going and copy that if you want it to feel that way. Woo! Holy, is exactly what I thought when I started wetting this down, because next to her, almost finished face, that looks intense. Super intense. We're going to go with it, though. We're just rolling with it. Whew, so intense. Not fighting it, though. Don't fight the process. Just roll with it. Every painting has ugly phases, and this clearly was one of those phases. But I went in with a dark brown or a indigo, any kind of dark color that you want to use for your shadows. I tend to go towards indigos and purples for my shadows. I very, very, very rarely use black for my shadows. Not because black isn't a good shadow color, but because black is more of a, it kind of pulls the luminosity of the piece and makes it look more flat. Whereas with this, if you use a darker shade of the colors you're using, or a purple, or blue, more of a blue leaning black, or indigo, or whatever. You could even use greens in your shadows, a deep dark green in your shadows, depending on the piece. It would read as a dark black shadow, as this does. But yeah, that pulls those folds in and makes it her hide look more realistic. Her lovely furry self. And I decide to blend it out into the direction of, I'm trying to blend the light and dark together a little bit so it looks a little more natural. I'm kind of being messy and loose with it and really just seeing what will happen if I do this, if I swoosh it around. Because you can always go back in over the top of this stuff. It's not like watercolors where once you swoosh it, once you get that dark down over that light, there's no pulling it back. Unless you want to get mixed media in there, which I have done. To salvage a piece, I'll go grab colored pencils or gouache or whatever to salvage the art piece. But for this one, being a wax pastel, crayon, you kind of have a lot of choices, a lot of play in what you can do with the medium. And I'm still trying to be mindful of, I want to just scribble in this dark color everywhere, but I'm refraining from that urge and getting the dark down, and then more saffron and wet that saffron, which is super intense again. But it didn't seem dark enough. There was too much pink and light pushing through, and the body is very much in shadow. You can tell that it's a brown color with lots of shading in it, and you can tell where the fur direction is, but it is much darker than her face. So I'm trying to gently build up the layers, one over the other. I don't want to get too dark, but I would like it to look a little bit realistic. And then I put in a deep dark here, then you notice that this dark in the face isn't quite dark enough, so you go in and put a little bit more there. And super light hand too. I'm not pushing very hard with any of these layers. Except for in the inside the ears and on top of that head. I'm doing pretty light layers of color over color. Gently, just misting over the top of the previous layer. Wet, dab the brush, and then, nope, going back in with a little bit of saffron. The fold didn't seem quite right. It was, I put the shadow over the top where I didn't want it to be. I decided to go in heavy, and I'm getting a nice layer of the saffron in there. In circular motions and just kind of blocking it in because I'm going to wet it here in a minute. I think it looks amazing though. And this is when I noticed that her body wasn't getting quite dark enough. It was still way too light. And the creases were too light, where her skin's folded and overlapping and pushing the fur together and creating all that shadow. Those shadows weren't quite dark enough, so I'm going in there and really getting it in there. But still, pretty light hand. I'd say light to medium pressure on that dark and the saffron, glazing over the color that's already there. And there she is. Look at her. She's so cute. And pushing that saffron in there. Wet and gently dab that brush. And the water on the page too. See, I'm dabbing. I'm not brushing. I'm just kind of dampening the existing pigment. I don't want it to move too much. I want it to stay pretty much where I put it, and gently blending those dark colors and like pushing the dark color over that saffron with the brush gently. Super light touch. A little bit of water goes a long way with these. I think if I used a lot of water, it would, you know, when you use too much water, when you're using watercolor or even acrylics, it thins out your paint too much and it'll create a bloom or a mark on your page, especially in watercolor. It blooms and flowers. I feel like these would do that. If you got too much water in an area, it would kind of thin out that pigment too much and create a spot. Have to play with that one too. How much water can you put over pigment layers? Like a heavy pigment layer when it starts damaging it. Something to play with later. Experimentation. We are almost done with her. She's close to finished. I just need to get the rest of this body blocked in. I very rarely work to the edges of paper, so this is a new one for me. And I've got that dark color again, which at this point I'm pretty sure is the indigo. I'm very certain I used the indigo for the darks. We'll be able to tell at the end. I have a dark brown and a dark indigo out for the shadows. I believe I went back and forth with them. But once again, it's up to you what kind of color you want to use in your shadows, but really think about using, I'm trying not to get that white line. You see that white line on her ear there? It's a fuzzy patch of light white fur on the edge of her ear. I don't want to obliterate that. I think it adds a really nice little touch, and I didn't want to have to go over browns to try and pull it back. So I just left it the white of the paper as much as I could. I'm getting in more shadow below that ear and along that body. There's only like a shine of light across the top of her back, and the rest of her body fur is pretty dark in comparison with her face and those light ears. And again, be mindful of the direction of your lines. Line direction matters. Throwing in another glaze of that dark. Yeah, I used a dark brown and the indigo for the shadows. And then here I go with that. Wet the brush, dab the brush, and then kind of move that pigment around. Loose in the direction of the fur. I'm kind of pushing down and away from her face with the brush. And this is a watercolor brush. It didn't occur to me to not use a watercolor brush for these. You don't have to. If you're worried about ruining one of your watercolor brushes, definitely use one of your synthetic brushes or a brush for that you use for your acrylics or whatever. Oh, my camera battery died. I had to change that out. That's what that blip was. And I got the body pretty dark, and I want to go in there with that ochre again and pop some little highlight touches on that mop of fur and those two little pieces sticking up. Edges of the ear where I feel like it got too dark, and once again just touching where the sun would glint off that fur, where I got things a little too same and a little too dark. I got things a little too dark on that eye, and just a glaze of this color, plus it's fur. It doesn't have to be smooth. And that looks so much better. A little more in that ear. Pull those long hairs out and make them kind of push the darker hairs that are on the top of her ear more to the forefront. A little bit of shadowing in that white area, because it is not a patch of solid white fur. There's a lot going on her face. There's a little bit of shadowing in the white fur, and there's a little bit of shadowing in that pink. Almost forgot to finish her mouth. We'll get back to that in a second. Going over, I didn't want to forget to put some of that light ochre color on the other side of her face and redefine some areas that once again got lost in that saffron color. A little bit more shadow in that ear. Because I feel like there wasn't enough contrast. You couldn't really tell where the hair was overlapping and folding. That looks much better. Occasional dark spot. And then along that face again, I just felt like there wasn't enough contrast along that face. I did inadvertently, without even thinking about it, leave a little line of shine, a little line of color along the edge of her face, that light color. That looks nice. I just noticed. And then in there with that dark brown again, kind of deepening up that body, the color of the fur on the body. Still wasn't satisfied with how dark the body was compared to the face. So a little layer of this seemed to really push it back in shadow, and yeah, made it look that much more realistic. Sometimes if you just keep going and you just keep working at it, if your piece doesn't feel finished, it probably isn't. You're probably at a stage where you need to take a break, walk away, and come back and continue on. I've done that a lot. I actually have a fox piece that's a watercolor piece that I'm working on that I've done that with. It's been sitting, waiting to see what other things I want to do with it. Because I have it at a phase where I don't like it and I needed to just walk away. Another layer of saffron on top of all those other layers, kind of loose and scribbly. And then in with the white to try and get that white fur going. I didn't want to leave it the white of the paper because it was too stark against all that beautiful brown, all those beautiful golden browns and auburn colors. And I wanted to make it look like it was kind of overlapping. The white fur was overlapping those browns in some areas, pushing into it. And then there was a bunch of folds and shadows because it's pretty thick fur on her face. Just a little here and there, not a lot. And then bring those pops back in those eyes, make them really shine. And kind of loose scribbling in, pretty heavy texture with the white, just getting in there and really layering it on there. And the white patch on her face was not symmetrical or uniform in any way, so I didn't didn't draw it that way. I drew it how it really looked, and it makes her read more realistic to me. Went ahead and put some white in over that pink nose because it felt a little too pink to me. I lost the pink underneath the page there. It rolled under the page. And then I went in and got in those darker pink shadows with a layer of this bright, bright pink. The true pink in this set is actually a true pink. It's really nice. And it's a little dark around her nostrils and across the top of her little nose. And then there was a little bit of pink into the white up there. And just going in with the brush and softening that pink around the dark shadowy area. Not completely making it solid and uniform, leaving a little bit of light and dark. And yeah, that just makes all the difference in the world. I almost forgot to do this part. I got done her fur and I was thinking, cool, I'm almost done. And then I was like, oh, her mouth looks weird. And that cute little lower lip kind of jutting out to the side. Like she's mid-chew. Or she just, is wondering why we're looking at her. And I really like the textures these crayons offer too. The textures are really nice. Once I got done with all the pink, I wanted to darken up the nostril area. I didn't feel like they were dark enough, especially compared to the eyes. So I went in there and wet that blue a little bit. And I stole some of the dark blue to make that shadow under her upper lip. So you could really tell. Oh, and here's where we start our background color. I'm decided to put in a background. I didn't want to leave it all white. So I'm put in an olive green and I believe the ultramarine blue. And then I'm dropping water in the bowl right there. And sorry, I mixed it together out of frame. And then I have this beautiful green blue color that I just created by scribbling two colors in a little ceramic cup and throwing water in it and mixing it up. And you can create a wash. Now the textures on this paper, because it's a hot press paper doesn't like a lot of water. It does create texture on the paper. I really like the contrast of that green blue over the white. I like that a lot. I think it makes her pop off the page a little bit and look a little more natural. Let me know what you think of the painting in the comments below, you guys. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.